wave of UFO sightings, which has been increasing constantly for several years, is particularly concentrated in certain countries, especially Mexico. But South America also boasts a remarkable number of cases. These cases are often supported by photographs and videos. But that's not all. In certain countries, Brazil in particular, there are legends telling of contact between indigenous people and beings from the stars, and many researchers have become involved in investigating the matter. Ademar José Giveyed is the best-known Brazilian investigator following the UFO phenomenon.
No Brasil,
the best-known cases in Brazil, even on an international level, are fairly specific, distinct cases. For example, UFOs in the Amazon area are a matter of frequent discussion, and Brazilian ufologists have been examining the cases for some time.
In fact, a constant alien presence in the wild and nearly unexplored Amazon area is something of a legend. An ancient memory of contact with beings from the stars has been passed down in the myths and traditions of many cultures that some consider primitive. The Kayapo tribe is among these witnesses.
We have indigenous nations, and this is an incredible thing. Entire indigenous populations who base their rituals and folk celebrations on the supposition that they are of extraplanetary origins. For example, the indigenous people of Upper Xingu believe that they descend from a mythical being called Bep Kororoti, who came to Earth decades, centuries ago, according to the cultural traditions of that people, leaving an extraterrestrial legacy. They believe that they belong to a civilization from beyond Earth, and that one day they will be brought back to their homeland.
In remembrance of their ancient descent from the stars, the Kayapo celebrate a rite in which one of them personifies the mythical Bep Kororoti, the being from space who taught them how to farm and many other things. The costume used in the ceremony is made of woven vegetable fibers, and its shape suggests more modern clothing. The headdress clearly simulates a helmet, and the rest resembles a pressurized suit. Is this just an ancient myth, or could it be something else? However you choose to view it, it's an intriguing story for our times.
We reached such a serious level that the local authorities informed the Paris state government, which in turn requested that the Brazilian Air Force intervene. So an investigation was ordered. As a consequence, Operation Plato was launched in September and ended in December 1977. It produced about 2,000 pages of documents, of which we have over 200 filed in folders. It also produced 500 photographs of flying saucers, including some taken from close range. We have about 24 of those. Operation Plato also produced at least 16 hours of footage showing flying saucers over the Amazon area rivers. Brazilian ufologists, and in particular UFO magazine, have none of It was closed because something happened, the very thing that the military was looking for, contact with extraterrestrial beings. That was one of their objectives, to attempt to establish contact with the forms of intelligence behind the phenomenon. They didn't think it could happen. When it happened, to put it simply, when there was direct contact between an official of the Brazilian Air Force and the extraterrestrial beings, which happened around mid-December 1977, the Brazilian Air Force simply understood that it might lose control of the situation, and as a consequence, it closed down Operation Plato for good. Today, our mission in Brazil aims to get that material finally declassified. We've already had confirmation from various military sources. At the moment, it mainly comes from Brigadier José Carlos Pereira, former commander of the Brazilian Aerospace Defense Command.
Commander Pereira not only confirmed the truth behind this operation and the classified documents, but also gave an assessment of it from a strategic and military perspective.
The reports are kept in the archive and classified as secret. Now, if I were to say, during Operation Plato there was this or that contact, I'd be violating the secrecy imposed by law on my country. I can't do it. I can't reveal it. Otherwise, I'd be committing a crime. But I can say, please change the law. Please make a new law. The UFO matter does not constitute a threat of war to any country. It doesn't threaten anyone's safety and doesn't cause panic amongst the population. It doesn't even threaten people's privacy. I see no reason why it can't be completely opened and divulged.
Pereira's analysis even made news on the international ufological scene.
There is an extensive amount of evidence and witness accounts, not just in Brazil, but throughout the world. This evidence is quite valid and carries great weight.
Commander Pereira's words are supported by the never-ending stream of cases, which continues to appear with increasing frequency. In the rest of South America, the videos and photographs that have been produced are certainly not as numerous as in Mexico, but the material in existence provides researchers and scientists with increasingly extraordinary material for their investigations. We often hear of frequent UFO presence near volcanoes. The incredible object we're seeing in this video was filmed by an Ecuadorian government official. Once again, the video was recorded near Ecuador's volcanic chain.
Miren eso, qué fantástico, qué belleza, es como una araña, qué belleza, se me perdió, ahí arriba, miren eso, es una nave preciosa, es una cosa fantástica. Sí, parece, es como una... Tiene luces hacia los lados y un eje central. Se mueve muy lentamente. Se mueve súper lento, pero... Parece que está parqueado ahí. Es hermoso. Hemos estado yendo a ver al volcán Tungurahua y ahora nos topamos con esto. Es hermoso. Miren, no es un avión, no es nada. Qué belleza, se va alejando poquito a poquito. Bueno, eso es todo, creo que. Vamos a ver hasta el volcán Tungurahua a ver qué pasa. Pero miren, es como una araña de sal, algo así. Vemos otro de estos objetos. Son extraños, tienen una luz central y unas luces laterales y son intermitentes esas luces. Es que se me pierden. Están flotando.
In the end, the witness and his friends reached the panoramic spot in front of the volcano Tungurahua, their original destination before the sighting.
Después de esta alegría tan bonita que hemos tenido y esta sorpresa del ovni, estamos ya en el sitio para ver el volcán.
It wasn't the first time that this type of UFO had been sighted and filmed. In the 1990s, Victor Chuluiza sighted and filmed this flying object in Ecuador. It looks very similar to the one we've just seen.
When I realized that they actually didn't seem to be airplanes or balloons, I felt a thrill, and I understood that it really wasn't what I had expected. It was a UFO. It must have been 200, 180 meters from here. It was closer, and so it looked larger, and I don't know, maybe the video camera helped me to put it into focus enough to see the image clearly, and I believe it was thanks to the video camera. And one thing that really caught my attention was that it made no noise. I might have thought it was an airplane, a helicopter, but I couldn't hear any noise. And that was what made me get my video camera and start filming. But when I saw it through the video camera, when I saw it from close up, I didn't see the typical saucer shape, but rather the shape of a sort of star, a very particular shape that I had never seen before. I got the impression that it was something out of the ordinary, something that I would never have imagined seeing. It really struck me, the fact that I saw something that's so rarely sighted. It seems natural to me. I mean, in such an immense universe, the third planet can't possibly be the only inhabited one. I've always believed it, and I have to be honest, I've always wanted to see a flying object. And when at last I was able to see one, it was a dream come true.
Another similar craft was subsequently filmed in Mexico. The first was sighted and filmed in Tikal, Yucatan on the 7th of August 2004.
Órale, sí, lo estás filmando. Clarito. Síguelo. Clarito, mira eso. Sí, pues que tú quédate filmando, yo sigo por allá por los árboles también. Sigue filmando, voy.
Another similar flying object was filmed in Tikal, Mexico on the 12th of December 2004. On the 30th of August 2000, a seminary student was filming the celebration of Mass in Ecuador when he noticed a strange object moving in the sky outside. Initially, he filmed it through the church windows. Then he went out and the object could still be seen in the sky.
Oye, mira, huevón. Baja un poco, baja un poco. Qué emoción. Mira, mira, Ronnie, mira acá.
The agitation and concern in the witnesses' voices can be heard in the audio recorded during this unusual aerial spectacle. Nowadays, we're accustomed to seeing security cameras positioned at various points in our cities. They're part of the scenery, and nobody notices them anymore. In Ecuador, they call them eagle eyes. We know the cameras are there to watch out for accidents or criminal acts. But in Cuenca, Ecuador, they recorded a rather unusual scene.
En Cuenca es una ciudad al sur de Ecuador.
In Cuenca, a city in the mountains south of Ecuador, there are surveillance cameras in the streets. One of these filmed some children pointing to the sky from the terrace of their house. The person operating the surveillance camera zoomed in on the children and moved it upwards to see what they were pointing to in space. By doing so, it located and filmed a UFO moving towards the Cajas lagoons. While the UFO was being filmed, a second object appeared at the same point, and they both went toward Cajas. Here, the same thing that happened in other cases repeated itself. The UFO stopped, hovering. When the children pointed to it, and someone there began to film it, the object started to move. I think that there was some form of intelligence inside it.
By analyzing the images, we can note how the first object begins to move the moment the video camera pans over it. This becomes even clearer when the second unidentified flying object arrives to accompany the first before they fly away. The model of video camera with which these extraordinary images were recorded is very sophisticated and expensive. Peru has been the stage for remarkable UFO appearances since the 1990s. A very intense wave of sightings took place in the capital, Lima, in 1999. The videos recorded at the time caught the attention of both the media and the Peruvian public. A number of very bright, unidentified objects flying at low altitudes generated unease in Lima's population. People didn't know how to explain what was happening, and the authorities were unable to provide any clarification regarding the nature of the unknown craft.
Pero mira, los dos tienen dos rutas distintas, Rodolfo. Y mira el avión cómo se va para allá. Mira la luz cómo se prende el avión que pasa por acá arriba, mira. Claro. Y mira esa luz, qué potente. No puede ser un avión. Es muy fuerte esta luz acá.
¿Tiene 3 foquitos o me parece, Sergio? 3. Este se ve más claro.
Mira, mira, Catherine, mira. Lo estoy grabando, está sentado. Voy a llorar. Mira, está brillando más. Catherine, está brillando más. Me estoy dando cuenta. Está acercándose más.
Es la 4ª vez en esta noche. Hoy es plano, no mira. Es una luz así como de fluorescente, así largo.
On the 20th of May 2007, a flotilla appeared in the skies over Lima, rekindling interest in the media and the Peruvian public. This is the news report broadcast on the channel ATV Noticias. It was about noon when people on the street saw this spectacular phenomenon.
Hay más de 20 platillos voladores, amigos, allá. Fíjense allá bien. Ahorita está pasando y todo el mundo está mirando.
No sé, yo no creo en los platillos voladores, pero parece.
Este extraño y sorprendente espectáculo, registrado en Lima hace 2 días, fue captado por un equipo de ATV Noticias. Por más de 30 minutos se observó una diversidad de puntos blancos que iban formando figuras en el cielo. Estos avistamientos bien podrían ser estudiados por una oficina de sistema aeroespacial, como existe en países como Chile, Brasil, Argentina y México.
The event was also filmed from another point in the city. By analyzing the frames, we can clearly see the classic white spheres making up the flotilla. It doesn't happen often that people and traffic stop to witness a spectacular show of unidentified flying objects. The city of 33 in Uruguay was at the center of one of these rare cases. The episode took place when Giorgio Bongiovanni was visiting from Italy. He'd traveled there for a series of conferences regarding the presence of UFOs.
Filmá la gente, todo. Qué interesante mirar, No tenemos. Ahora se empezaron a ver los otros, Aquellos dos eran una telaraña.
In the video, we can clearly see numerous flying objects hovering in the clear sky. They're flying at a relatively low altitude and are easily seen by the people on the street. The object's movement clearly shows their ability to move autonomously during flight. Yet another spectacular example of this unknown form of aviation.
Some days before my visit to Uruguay, in a city called 33, some unidentified flying objects appeared, that is, extraterrestrial spaceships to us, and they stopped traffic throughout the city. It was all captured on film. There were spaceships in the sky, bright even in daylight, like white spheres. The people stopped to look out and point at them, shouting, "UFOs, UFOs!" The TV stations got it all on film.
Tarbaca is near San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica. Just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Marvin Badia, a young carpenter, was working when he heard a strange buzzing that distracted him from his work. To his intense amazement, the young man saw that the source of the noise was about 100 meters away from him.
I was shaping this table here outside. It was very cloudy. I looked up and saw some sort of object. It was very bright. I looked at it carefully and took out my mobile phone. I saw that it was giving me time to film it, so I started to record. I called my colleague, who was working with a drill, but he didn't hear me. I called him again. I turned towards him, moving the phone, and when I turned back, the object had already gone.
The film that Marvin recorded shows a classic flying saucer hovering just a few meters from the ground. His colleague, William Rivera, didn't hear Marvin shouting over the noise of the drill he was using. Thus, he missed the extraordinary spectacle.
William! William, vea, vea, vea. William!
William Rivera assures us that Marvin was quite shaken.
No, he wouldn't calm down. He was still very, very worked up. You see, I believe that this was a UFO. I have no doubt it wasn't man-made. And why was it here? We don't know.
The movements that the craft makes and its appearance prove that it could not have been a conventional earthly vehicle. According to Marvin's description, the object was about as large as the wheel of a large tractor. It wouldn't have been large enough to hold a normal-sized person. Oscar Sierra, a ufologist from Costa Rica, explains his theory to the Teletica journalists.
It's not necessarily a driven object. It could be some sort of probe, like those that human beings sent to Titan not long ago, which were small, about 2 meters. Therefore, they aren't necessarily piloted objects. Rather, they could be some kind of surveying probe.
It's hard to say whether this is the correct explanation, but it's clear that the video recorded by Marvin Badia is among the best documents that the investigators have today. Continual sightings in South America and in the rest of the world, the creation of an official UFO investigation committee in Ecuador, the declassification of secret files in other nations such as France and England, the statements made by the Vatican, a new perception of the phenomenon in ever wider areas of civilian society. They're all signs that something is changing. Various ancient prophecies predict that change is coming to humanity. For Jaime Rodriguez, this hope is a certainty.
Absolutely. We're at the beginning of a new era. In fact, we've got a lot of responsibility. And I'm a person who truly believes, that is, I have a feeling that the predictions that the Maya made for 2012 are of great importance. And I believe that people's conscience is going to change.
Might this be true? Certainly, we can hope that humanity might soon be able to unlock the mystery of what seems to be an increasingly frequent presence.